It is the data. The digital twin is the data, the content. It isn't the software, although software, lots of software, really, really helps you contextualize, understand, view the data. But the digital twin is the data. You cannot buy an application with a digital twin, for the digital twin. You would probably buy a collection of applications.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the picture is like of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the computer. How is it that you can just ask any question and it'll answer you with whatever? Maybe one day, but it's certainly not now. And I definitely don't think that's a digital twin. I think the reality of a digital twin is a lot more closer to home. And it's a combination of things like a search interface, tools to interact with the different types of data, different applications, certainly. And an example might be Google, for example, that's our way into a lot of stuff now on the internet. But then we go off onto the different websites, depending on what we want to do. And we spend time there, but we have like a map.
The map is the information standards and the data model. So we know that let's go back to that change thing. We know that the change ID and the changes are all carried in a database somewhere, but the change is associated with an item that's somewhere else. The tag number, which is in the central tag database, the 3D space that tag number occupies, etc., etc., etc. So they're all interconnected, but they are not one system.
So I've just add a bit to that. So just to Effie's point, what it isn't. To me, it isn't the Oracle. It isn't more accurate than the best information that have gone into it. So that's an important point here. And I think people can see a massive data and think there's lots of knowledge. So I've worked with some extremely useful and interactive digital twins, but they are, again, only as good. Is it being maintained? Is it got the latest information on upgrades, especially when you go into operations? Does it have all the recent work that's been done on that facility? So I suppose it isn't more accurate than checking and talking and communicating with people to check that's a very important. And the other thing I'd say, it isn't just a repeat of the 3D model. I think people get a little bit confused here. The 3D model is an integral piece of it, but it's far more than that. It's the overlay of the 3D and the system design, all of the architecture of the project, and again, all the data and knowledge that's gone into it. So I think those are two key things. It's not just a 3D model, and we mustn't fall into the trap of thinking it knows more than the data that's been put into it.
And it isn't perfect, like us, really. That's a good point. So it isn't complete, and it isn't entirely accurate, but we have a way of finding out where the inaccuracies are and improving on them. And also, as time unfolds, we have some ideas about how things might be made more perfect, how you might add extra features, how you might change features, how you might retire features that were useful once, but maybe aren't useful in the future. So that's another feature of it. It's not perfect.
That's really important points that actually we hadn't even discussed up till now, because that really changes how you view it. What we're saying now actually is digital twin is an advisory, I hesitate to say even system, because we're saying it's not one thing. It's an advisory entity that, so to your point, Andrew, the 3D model is a lens that you might view that data through, and it helps you contextualize things much quicker than previously. So it's helping you to interpret and view things in context quickly, but it's not taking the decision for you or telling you what to do directly.
Correct.
Actually, so it's very much an assistance.
I'm slightly uncomfortable with that. I think actually there are things in it that are perfect. You know, let's take the example of the P&IDs. I hate to use the idea of drawings, but they're still very important. The digital twin will contain the P&IDs in their as-built state during operations. That is the only place we will have them. So they are the system of the store of record for those things. But there are some things that are incomplete inside it, especially during the project. But we know which bits they are. We know from some understanding of their maturity, for example, how imperfect they probably are. So yes, it's advisory, but it does contain the best information we've got about the plant. But there will be areas where it may change because there are imperfections. And we use reporting to try and identify those imperfections. Tell me the bits where the such and such kind of a check hasn't yet been performed, so that I can perform that check, is an example of the sort of questions you might ask the digital twin.
And so those questions, one might use a system like Aviva already to do that.
Yeah.
So let's say Aviva Net, you'd already have your P&IDs, and you may have your maintenance management in Aviva as well, or SAP. So what we're saying, so those systems wouldn't get replaced. What you're saying is they just become part of the envelope.
Yep.
And by having information standards, they allow the sharing of information across, or such that it can be viewed through a different lens, like say the 3D model or in other tools.
And the systems I call the common data environment, which I've stolen, the term I've stolen from the BIM infrastructure industry, to try and bind the thinking together on this. So the common data environment would contain the tool used to update the maintenance information in the overall digital twin. It's still probably something like SAP or Maximo. It doesn't really matter. And so on and so forth. So, and some of the tools you have simply display information, such as Aviva Net. Some of them are places where you edit the information, such as the PDMS E3D 3D model, where you might, by the way, other 3D modeling tools are available, where you might make the change and then publish to the visualization environment.